The moon rose full and round over the village of Umuala, glowing like a white drum in the sky. Night winds moved through tall grass, carrying the smell of dust, palm oil, and burning wood. Drums began to beat slowly, calling people from their huts. It was a night meant for joy. It was Queen Zawadi's birthday. For 20 seasons, Zawadi had been wife to Chief Balaam, the strongest man of the Riverlands. She was known across villages as a calm woman with deep eyes and a quiet voice. Elders said her blood carried old power. Hunters respected her. Women came to her for wisdom. Even the spirits of the land were said to listen when she prayed at night. But this night, something felt wrong. The fire in the center of the village burned too high. Sparks flew into the dark like angry insects. Dogs howled for no reason. An elder shifted his staff and whispered, "The wind is restless." Zawadi sat on a carved wooden seat beside her husband. She wore a deep indigo cloth wrapped around her body, marked with ancient symbols of motherhood and protection. Cowrie shells lined her hair, soft bells tied at her ankles. Her face was calm, but her heart felt heavy, like a stone in water. Across the fire, villagers gathered, warriors with spears, women with babies tied to their backs, hunters with animal skins on their shoulders. Drums beat louder. Flutes cried like distant birds. Tonight was meant to honor Zawadi, the mother of the chief's house. Behind her stood her 2 daughters, Leela and Sonny, both almost grown. They wore bright beads and laughed with other girls. Their laughter cut the air sharply, like broken glass. Zawadi turned her head slightly. "My daughters," she said softly, "stand close." They did not hear her. Or maybe they chose not to. Chief Balaam stood. The drums stopped. Silence fell so deep that even the fire seemed to hold its breath. "My people," Balaam said, his voice strong and proud, "tonight we celebrate life." A cheer rose. He lifted his hand. "Tonight, I speak truth." Zawadi's fingers tightened on her cloth. From the shadows behind the elders' circle, a young woman stepped forward. She was dressed in red. Her skin glowed in the firelight. Gold rings circled her wrists and neck. Her eyes were bold, unafraid. A sharp breath moved through the crowd. Zawadi felt the ground tilt beneath her. "This," Chief Balaam said, placing his hand on the woman's shoulder, "is Neria. She carries my seed. She will join my house." The words fell like thunder. For a moment, no one spoke. Then laughter broke out. Not from strangers. From Zawadi's daughters. Leela clapped her hands. Sonny laughed loudly, her bracelets shaking. "Father is strong." Sonny shouted. "Another mother in the house." The crowd murmured. Some elders lowered their eyes. Some women covered their mouths. A few men nodded, unsure. Zawadi did not move. Her heart cracked open, but her face remained still. Neria stepped closer, her smile thin like a knife. She bowed slightly, not in respect, but in victory. "This night is blessed," Neria said sweetly. "The ancestors have chosen me." Zawadi finally stood. The fire popped loudly, sending sparks into the air. The wind changed direction. She looked at her husband. "On my birthday," she said, her voice quiet but clear, "you bring shame into my house." Balaam frowned. "Do not make this heavy, woman. A chief must grow his name." Zawadi turned to her daughters. "You laugh." They shrugged. "It is the way of men," Leela said. "You are old now." The words pierced deeper than any blade. Zawadi stepped away from the fire. Her shadow stretched long behind her, touching the dark edge of the forest. An elder cleared his throat. This night should be guided by wisdom. But Balaam waved him away. "The drums will continue." The drums began again, faster now, louder, as if trying to drown out something unseen. Zawadi walked past the dancers, past the laughing girls, past the firelight. No one stopped her. At the edge of the village, she paused. Behind her, the celebration roared. Ahead of her, the forest waited, old, silent, watching. She removed the cowrie shells from her hair and let them fall to the ground. They landed with soft clicks, like bones touching. She whispered, "Ancestors of my blood, you see me." The wind answered, cold against her skin. Zawadi stepped into the forest. Trees closed behind her. The sounds of drums faded, replaced by night insects and distant owl cries. The moonlight broke through leaves, painting silver paths on the ground. Her feet carried her to the sacred river, where women prayed and spirits were said to drink. She knelt at the water's edge. Her reflection trembled on the surface. "I gave my youth," she said. "I gave my womb. I gave my silence." The river did not move. She pressed her palm into the water. It was warm. Behind her, a branch snapped. Zawadi did not turn. A deep voice spoke from the darkness. "Daughter of old roots, your tears have reached the mountains." Her breath caught. Slowly, she turned. Between the trees stood a tall shape, neither man nor beast. Its eyes glowed like embers. Its voice echoed like many voices speaking as one. "The fire you left burns with lies," it said. "But fire can also cleanse." Zawadi bowed her head, shaking. "Go back," the spirit whispered. "The night has only begun." Thunder rolled far away, though the sky was clear. In the village, the drums beat harder. And unseen eyes opened across the land. The spirit vanished as quietly as it came. Zawadi remained by the sacred river, her knees sinking into soft mud. The water trembled, then went still. Night sounds returned, frogs croaking, insects humming, leaves brushing together like secret talk. Her heart beat fast. "What does it mean?" she whispered into the dark. No answer came. Slowly, she stood and wrapped her cloth tighter around her body. The cold of the night crept into her bones, but something else burned inside her now, something awake, something old. She walked back toward the village. Each step felt heavy, as if unseen hands pressed on her shoulders. The path through the forest seemed longer than before. Shadows moved where there should be none. Once, she thought she heard her name spoken from the roots of a tree. "Zawadi." She did not stop. When she reached the edge of Umuala, the drums were louder than before. The celebration had grown wild. Men danced with spears raised. Women sang sharp songs of fertility and strength. The fire leaped high, hungry. Zawadi stood in the shadows and watched. Niria sat in her place now, Zawadi's place, beside Chief Balaam. She laughed freely, feeding him roasted meat with her own hands. Balaam smiled wide, proud like a lion showing teeth. Zawadi's daughters danced near them. Leela spun in circles, her feet fast and light. Sonny clapped and sang, her voice loud above the others. Zawadi felt her chest tighten. "These are my children," she thought. "How did they become strangers?" She stepped forward into the firelight. Some villagers noticed her and fell silent. Others nudged one another. A few elders straightened their backs. Zawadi walked calmly, her face unreadable. Niria looked up first. Her smile froze. Chief Balaam's eyes hardened. "You return," he said. "Have you finished your anger?" Zawadi did not answer him. She looked at the elders. "This night is broken," she said. "And when a night breaks, it breaks the land." Murmurs rose. One elder, old Marku, leaned on his staff. "Woman, speak carefully. Words have spirits." Zawadi nodded. "That is why I speak." She turned to Niria. "You say the ancestors chose you. Which ancestor came to you? Which river did you kneel by?" Niria hesitated, then lifted her chin. "I carry the chief seed. That is enough." A sharp wind blew through the clearing, rattling calabashes and sending smoke into people's eyes. Zawadi's voice remained steady. "The womb without honor invites fire." A gasp moved through the crowd. Chief Balaam stood. "Enough. You shame yourself." Zawadi finally looked at him. Her eyes were dark, deep as night water. "No," she said. "You shame the house." The drum stopped again, this time not by command, but by fear. From the back of the crowd, a hunter whispered, "The air feels heavy." Dogs began to bark. Suddenly, Sonny stepped forward. "Mother, stop this," she said loudly. "You embarrass us." Leela nodded. "Go rest. The night is for joy." Zawadi felt the pain rise again, sharp and sudden. She walked to her daughters and held their faces gently, one by one. "You clap at your mother's tears," she said softly. "Do you know what you clap for?" They pulled away. Zawadi stepped back. "Dance," she said. "Laugh." She turned and walked away from the fire, back to her hut. Behind her, the drums slowly began again, unsure, uneven. Inside her hut, the air smelled of herbs and old smoke. Zawadi lit a small oil lamp. Shadows climbed the walls. She sat on the ground and opened a woven basket hidden beneath a mat. Inside were objects she had not touched in many seasons. A small carved figure. Dried roots. White chalk. A necklace made of bone and stone. Her grandmother's things. Zawadi closed her eyes. She remembered her grandmother's voice, low and careful. "Power sleeps in silence. But when it wakes, it must be guided, or it will burn all it touches." Outside, thunder rolled again, closer now. Zawadi tied the bone necklace around her neck. It felt warm against her skin. She stepped outside. Clouds covered the moon. The fire in the village flickered strangely, bending sideways though there was no wind. Old Marku watched her from across the clearing. His eyes widened slightly when he saw the necklace. He hurried after her. "Daughter," he whispered, "do not open old doors." Zawadi met his gaze. "They were opened the night my children forgot me." Marku sighed. "Then the spirits will test all of you." At the center of the village, Niria suddenly cried out. She clutched her stomach, her face pale. "Something moves," she said. "Something cold." The crowd stirred in fear. Chief Balaam reached for her, but she pushed him away. "Do not touch me." A low sound rose from the ground, a deep hum, like the earth breathing. The fire dimmed. Zawadi stood still, her feet bare on the soil. "Ancestors," she whispered, "I stand between silence and fire." The hum grew louder. From the forest edge, unseen eyes watched. This was no longer a birthday. It was the beginning of judgment. Dawn did not come gently. A red light bled across the sky as the sun rose behind the hills. The village of Umuala looked wounded. Ash lay where fire once danced. Pots were broken. Footprints crossed the ground like scars. People woke slowly, afraid to speak. Zawadi sat outside her hut, wrapped in a plain cloth. The bone necklace lay beside her. She had not slept. Her eyes were tired, but her back was straight. Whispers moved through the village like smoke. The mothers spoke. The land shook. "Shame has entered the chief's house." Children were pulled indoors. Women avoided the well. Men gathered in small groups, voices low. Chief Balaam had not returned to his hut. He sat alone near the old baobab tree, his crown placed on the ground beside him. His shoulders sagged. For the first time, he looked like a man carrying weight instead of power. Elders gathered when the sun climbed higher. Old Marku struck the earth with his staff. "This matter is not finished," he said. "The land heard truth, but truth demands payment." The villagers formed a wide circle. Zawadi was called to stand at its center. She walked forward calmly. Her daughters stood together on the edge of the circle. Leela's face was hard. Sonny's eyes were red from crying, but her chin was high. Niria was brought forward next. Her once bright clothes were gone. She wore a dull brown wrap. Her wrists were bare. She looked smaller now, her eyes hollow. Old Marku spoke again. "Niria, you lied before the ancestors." Niria nodded weakly. "You carried false life into a sacred house." She sobbed. "I was hungry for more than I had." The elders turned to Chief Balaam. "You broke balance," Marku said. "You allowed pride to rule your steps." Balaam lowered his head. "I am guilty." A murmur spread through the crowd. Then old Marku turned to Zawadi. "And you," he said gently, "you woke sleeping power." All eyes turned to her. Zawadi lifted her chin. "I did not seek fire," she said. "I sought truth." Marku nodded. "Still, fire leaves marks." The elders withdrew to speak among themselves. The circle waited in heavy silence. Finally, Marku raised his staff. "The judgment is this," he said. Neria will leave Umuala before sunset. She will not return. The child she carries will be raised elsewhere, away from this broken house. Neria fell to the ground, wailing. 2 women helped her up and led her away. Marku continued. Chief Balaam will step down from the highest seat for 1 full season. He will hunt, farm, and serve like any other man. A shocked cry rose. Balaam nodded slowly. I accept. Then Marku looked at Zawadi again. Zawadi, daughter of deep roots, you stand at a crossing. The air tightened. The mothers marked you. You cannot return to silence as before. Zawadi felt a cold wave pass through her. What does that mean? She asked. Marku's voice softened. It means you must choose. Remain only a wife, or become a voice. Her daughters stared at her. Zawadi turned to them. Leela spoke first. If you choose power, she said, people will fear us. Sonny crossed her arms. If you choose silence, she said, we return to peace. Zawadi's heart twisted. She stepped toward them. When you laughed, she said quietly, my heart broke. Not because of your father, but because you did not see me. Sonny looked away. Leela whispered, we wanted to belong. Zawadi closed her eyes. Behind her, the wind rose. From the forest edge came a low sound, like distant drums. Not played by hands. Played by earth. Old Marku stiffened. The mothers are listening. Zawadi opened her eyes. I choose neither crown nor silence, she said. The elders leaned forward. I choose balance, Zawadi continued. I will speak when truth is buried. I will stand when women are broken in secret. A ripple moved through the crowd. Some faces showed fear. Others showed relief. Balaam lifted his head. Zawadi. She turned to him. You lost a wife, she said. But the land gained a witness. His eyes filled with regret. The drums from the forest grew louder, then stopped. The air eased. The mothers had accepted her choice. But choices have cost. That night, as the village tried to rest, Zawadi's hut shook with dreams. She saw blood on water. She saw daughters standing at a forked road. She woke with a cry. Outside, Leela stood alone in the dark. Mother, she said, her voice trembling, something is following me. From the shadows behind her, something moved. The price of truth had not finished collecting. Dawn arrived slowly, like a careful visitor. Soft orange light touched the roofs of Umuala. Birds returned to the trees, unsure at first, then singing again. The land breathed out, as if a long-held pain had finally been released. Zawadi lay on the ground where she had fallen. The villagers gathered around her in silence. No one dared touch her. Old Marku knelt and placed 2 fingers on her neck. He closed his eyes, then bowed his head. She lives, he said. But she no longer belongs only to us. Zawadi opened her eyes. They were calm. Too calm. She sat up slowly. Her movements were light, as if the earth barely held her weight. When she spoke, her voice carried the sound of wind through tall grass. The mothers have accepted the sacrifice, she said. Sonny cried out and threw herself forward. Mother! But when she reached for Zawadi, her hands passed through empty air. A gasp rose from the crowd. Zawadi looked at her daughters with deep sadness and love. Do not touch, she said gently. I am still here, but not as before. Leela fell to her knees. We laughed, she sobbed. We clapped at your pain. Zawadi knelt before them. Though her form shimmered, her eyes were warm. You laughed because the world taught you to honor power over truth, Zawadi said. That is not your crime. But learning must follow. She turned to the villagers. From this day, she said, silence in the face of cruelty will call the mothers again. The wind moved through the clearing, soft but firm. Chief Balaam stepped forward, his face broken with shame. Zawadi, he whispered, forgive me. Zawadi looked at him for a long moment. Forgiveness is not a return, she said. It is a warning. Balaam bowed low, his forehead touching the earth. Neria was already gone, driven from the land before sunrise. Her name was no longer spoken in Umuala. The elders gathered. Old Marku raised his staff. Zawadi will not be called wife, he announced. She will be called Mother Witness. From that day on, when injustice stirred in the village, the wind would rise. When a woman cried in secret, drums would beat without hands. When children mocked pain, the earth would whisper her name. Zawadi walked to the edge of the village. With every step, her body became lighter, more transparent. She turned back one last time. My daughters, she said, walk with open eyes. Power that laughs at pain will always fall. Sonny pressed her face into the dust, crying. Leela followed, her pride broken at last. Zawadi stepped into the forest. She did not vanish. She changed. Years passed. Chief Balaam served his season without crown. When it ended, he did not reclaim his old power. He ruled with listening instead of pride. Leela grew into a quiet woman who protected others with words and courage. Sonny became a teacher of girls, warning them of laughter that wounds. And on certain nights, when the moon was full and the wind turned cold, a woman's voice could be heard near the sacred river. Not angry. Not bitter. Steady. Elders would say to the children, that is Zawadi. Remember her. Moral lesson. When a woman's pain is mocked, the land itself remembers. Silence feeds injustice, but truth, no matter how costly, restores balance. The night swallowed Leela's words. Zawadi rose fast, grabbing her daughter's arm and pulling her inside the hut. The oil lamp flickered wildly, throwing sharp shadows across the walls. What did you see? Zawadi asked. Leela's breath shook. I felt it before I saw it, she whispered. Cold, heavy, like eyes without faces. Outside, the wind moaned. The air smelled of wet earth and old leaves. Zawadi knew this feeling. The mothers do not follow, she said slowly. They send. A deep thud sounded outside the hut. Then another. Footsteps, but not human. Zawadi pushed Leela behind her. She picked up the bone necklace and slipped it over her head. It burned against her skin. Stay here, she commanded. Leela grabbed her arm. Mother, don't go. Zawadi cupped her daughter's face. This began with my silence, she said. It must end with my standing. She stepped outside. The village lay under thick darkness. No drums. No fire. Even insects were silent. At the center of the clearing stood a shape made of shadow and soil. Its body shifted like smoke trapped in mud. Where its face should be, there was only darkness. Around it, the earth was cracked. Old Marku emerged from his hut, trembling. The collector, he whispered. The mother's debt walker. More villagers crept out, fear painted on every face. Chief Balaam stepped forward, holding a spear. His hands shook. Zawadi raised her palm. Put it down, she said. This thing came for your blood, Balaam said. Let me fight it. Zawadi shook her head. Steel does not touch judgment. The collector moved. Where it stepped, grass died. It turned toward the hut. Toward Leela. Zawadi ran forward, placing herself between the spirit and the hut. I am here, she said loudly. I woke the mothers. Speak your demand. The ground pulsed. The collector's voice poured out like soil sliding from a grave. Balance was broken by laughter at pain. A wind burst outward, knocking villagers to the ground. Blood mocked blood. Zawadi's heart clenched. Behind her, Sonny stumbled from another hut, crying, Mother! Zawadi shouted, Go back! But the collector turned its formless face toward Sonny. The children laughed. The village gasped. Old Marku cried out, No! They were foolish, not cruel. The collector did not move. Zawadi fell to her knees. If payment must be made, she said, voice breaking, take me. The shadow loomed closer. The awakened one does not pay with death, it rumbled. She pays with sacrifice. Zawadi looked up. Name it. The ground shook harder than before. Give what you love most, willingly. Silence fell like a stone. Zawadi turned slowly. Her daughters stood together now, fear finally breaking their pride. Sonny shook her head violently. No, no, no. Leela sobbed. Mother, please. Zawadi's chest burned as if her heart were tearing itself apart. Old Marku stepped forward, tears streaming. Great mothers, choose another. The collector's shadow stretched across the earth. A lesson mocked must be carved deep. Zawadi stood. She walked to her daughters and held them both. She pressed her forehead to theirs. You laughed because you did not understand, she whispered. But understanding always comes with pain. She pulled back and faced the collector. I give my place as mother, she said. They will walk without me. A scream rose from the village. Sonny collapsed, crying. I was wrong. I was wrong. Leela fell to her knees. Take my pride, not my mother. The collector paused. The ground trembled uncertainly. Zawadi's tears fell onto the soil. I will leave this village, she continued. I will never touch my daughters again. I will become wind to them. Memory. Warning. Old Marku shouted, Zawadi. Chief Balaam dropped his spear and crawled forward. Take my life instead. Zawadi did not look at him. The collector leaned closer. Its voice lowered. Do you offer this freely? Zawadi nodded. Yes. The bone necklace shattered, falling into dust. A blinding wind exploded outward. The collector screamed, not in anger, but in release. Its shadow tore apart, sinking back into the ground. The earth sealed itself. Silence returned. Zawadi collapsed. When the villagers rushed forward, she was still breathing, but something had changed. Her eyes were open. But they no longer saw the village. She had been claimed. And dawn was coming. The ground shook once, then became still. People froze in place. Even the children stopped crying. The drums lay silent, forgotten beside the fire. Smoke rose straight into the sky, thick and dark, as if the night itself was listening. Zawadi stood barefoot on the soil, the bone necklace resting against her chest. Her breath slowed. Her fear did not leave, but it changed shape. From beneath the earth came a sound again. Not loud, but deep. It was the sound of roots moving in the dark, of mountains remembering their names. Old Marku fell to his knees. Ancestors, he whispered. We hear you. Others followed, dropping to the ground one by one. Only Chief Balaam remained standing. Neria trembled beside him. Sweat covered her face though the night was cold. Something is wrong, she cried. Make it stop. Zawadi stepped forward. As she moved, the air thickened. The fire leaned toward her, its flames stretching as if reaching. Zawadi! Balaam shouted. What have you done? She looked at him calmly. I have listened. She knelt and pressed both palms to the earth. The hum grew into a voice. It did not come from the sky. It came from below. Blood remembers. The voice rolled through the village, shaking huts and trees. People screamed. Babies wailed. Birds burst from branches into the dark sky. Zawadi's eyes filled with tears, but she did not pull her hands away. Blood remembers sacrifice. The earth warmed beneath her palms. Images flooded her mind. Women bent over fields, women giving birth by firelight, women burying sons, women holding families together while kings slept. She gasped. This voice, she whispered. It is the mothers. Old Marku cried out. The mothers of the land. The first wombs. Long ago, before chiefs and crowns, the land was guarded by women whose spirits were bound to soil and water. They were protectors, judges, and keepers of balance. Their power slept unless called by true pain. And Zawadi's pain had reached them. Neria screamed. She fell to her knees, clutching her belly. It burns, she cried. It burns inside me. The crowd pulled back in terror. Zawadi stood and walked toward her. Each step felt guided, not by her own will, but by something older. The bone necklace grew hot. Do not touch me. Neria shouted. Zawadi stopped a short distance away. I will not, she said. The truth touches all by itself. She turned to the people. You saw laughter where there should have been honor. You heard drums where there should have been silence. The ground pulsed once. Balance is broken, the voice said. Chief Balaam finally dropped to his knees. Fear twisted his proud face. Great mothers, he cried, I am a chief. I give offerings. I build fires. The voice answered, cold and steady. You build nothing that lasts. Wind tore through the village, knocking over calabashes and sending sparks flying. The fire split in two, leaving a dark line in the earth. Zawadi stepped over it. She stood between Balaam and Neria. This child she carries, Zawadi said slowly, what truth follows it? Neria sobbed. I do not know. The earth trembled again. Speak, the mothers commanded. Neria shook, then screamed. He promised me power. He said I would rule this house. He said the old wife was finished. A cry rose from the crowd. Zawadi closed her eyes. Was the child made in respect? The voice asked. Neria screamed again. No. The fire died completely. Darkness swallowed the village, broken only by the faint glow of the bone necklace. Chief Balaam crawled forward. Zawadi, he begged. Call them off. She looked down at him. For the first time, he looked small. I did not call them, she said. I only stopped being silent. The ground softened beneath Neria. Mud crept up her legs. She wailed as she sank to her knees. Old Marku shouted, confess fully, or the land will not release you. Neria sobbed. The child is not his. It belongs to another man. A shock ran through the village. The ground stilled. The voice spoke one last time. Truth has weight. Carry it. The mud released Neria. She collapsed, weeping. The fire slowly returned, weak and shaking. Zawadi felt the warmth leave the earth beneath her hands. The bone necklace cooled. The mothers were retreating. But their mark remained. Zawadi stood, exhausted. She had discovered the truth, not only of Neria, but of herself. She was not weak. She had never been. The village would never be the same again.